Hello, my name is Scott Alexander, and I'm the Bylaw Compliance Officer for Backflow Prevention with the County of Oxford. Today I'm going to be presenting the Backflow Prevention Program and Bylaw, which is a cooperative approach to further protection of our drinking water system. This presentation will cover what is backflow and what a cross-connection is, and look at some key definitions, how a backflow event occurs, including a look at a relevant case study, what the county's obligations as owner and operator of the drinking water system are, and how these events can be mitigated by the implementation of a backflow prevention program and bylaw. What is backflow and what is a cross connection? Under normal operating conditions, water flows from the water treatment facility through the distribution system and into private homes, businesses, and facilities. This directional flow is maintained by sustained pressure on the distribution system or the water main. And backflow is the reversal of the normal direction of this water flow, and there are two ways in which this can occur, both involving a change in hydraulic pressure. So on the left, you can see illustrated back pressure. This is when the pressure in the private side drinking water system increases above that than the municipal drinking water system. It can be caused by things such as a malfunctioning booster pump or improper expansion protection on a hot water heater. And it physically forces water back across that private side connection into the water main. And the second, as illustrated on the right-hand side, is back siphonage. This is when the pressure in the municipal drinking water system drops below that than the private water system. And it can be caused by firefighting, where large amounts of water are being drawn off a hydrant, or a repair or break in the water main. So these events can impact the water quality in the distribution system and to neighboring properties if the water that backflows runs through a cross connection. And a cross connection is any actual or potential connection between the municipal drinking water supply and any source of contamination where backflow can occur. What causes a backflow event? You need three conditions to have a backflow event. That's that cross connection previously discussed, which is after the water meter on the private side connection, substance that has been added to the potable water after this cross connection, making it non-potable, and you need a hydraulic change in the system, either that drop in pressure in the water main or that increase in pressure on the private service side. This can result in contaminated water being drawn back into the water main, and when hydraulic conditions return to normal, the hazardous substance will now be distributed to area residences, businesses, and industries. And the way that we protect against a backflow event is by making that unprotected cross connection into a protected cross connection using a backflow prevention device. Looking at a fairly local incident in Stratford, Ontario, car wash cleaning agent entered into the municipal drinking water system. Approximately 30,000 people were affected, 19 of whom sought medical attention. Many of those residences were without water for 3 to 7 days. Ultimately, the car wash owner was fined $75,000 by the MECP for the event, and the water emergency cost the city approximately $100,000 in staff overtime alone. So as you can see, backflow events have major impacts for residences, businesses, and the owner of the drinking water system. And although this car wash did have backflow prevention, the backflow prevention device had been bypassed, and that bypass was connected to a booster pump. A proper backflow prevention bylaw would regulate and could prevent the bypass of backflow prevention devices. At the very least, this bypass would have been caught during the annual device test, and the bylaw would require that the bypass be protected with the same degree of backflow prevention as the main line or be removed entirely. In 2008 MECP update, they cited more than 500 significant backflow events in North America in the last 30 years, 40 of which took place in Canada. Some other examples include a City of Guelph incident in which petroleum chemical entered the distribution system, a Region of Halton incident in which chemical cleaning agent backflowed during routine maintenance on a heating system, an Alberta event in which a vet backwashed E. coli into the municipal drinking water system, and as recently as 2022 in Regina, where glycol was added to a hose bib through a hose bib and entered the municipal drinking water system. So these are events that can still happen today if not protected against. See, it can happen anywhere. Something like a hydrant blow-off releasing a large amount of water can induce a back siphonage event, and then something as simple as a hose draped into a barrel of chemicals can siphon water into the municipal drinking water system, which can then be distributed through taps, or in case of foaming agents, can be come up through residences, toilets, or other fixtures. What are the regulations and responsibilities? What are the responsibilities of the county as the owner of the drinking water system? So the Safe Drinking Water Act outlines a number of obligations for individuals who have decision-making authority to drinking water systems. All individuals must exercise a level of care and diligence related to decision-making and impact the quality of water directed to residents from the municipal drinking water system. As the legal owner of the drinking water system, the county must protect against potential contamination. Nearly 60 municipalities in Ontario have already enacted backflow prevention bylaws to meet this objective, and in 2021, the county received a recommendation during a routine MECP inspection to consider implementation of a backflow prevention bylaw. Further to this, during the Walkerton inquiry, there was a recommendation included that water providers should have programs to detect and deter cross-contamination. Although the OBC does require premise isolation for high hazard properties, it falls short of protecting against moderate hazards. Additionally, the authority of the Ontario Building Code lasts only until occupancy of premises given. Therefore, there are no requirements to ensure ongoing functionality of installed backflow prevention devices. The Canadian Standards Association B64 series guides hazard classification of premises, as well as outlines the type of backflow prevention devices that are suitable to protect against each hazard level. This guideline is used to inform many backflow prevention programs, and the county will be the same. So how does the Canadian Standards Association B64 guideline classify hazards? It breaks it into 3 categories. The first is minor. This is only a nuisance or reduction in the aesthetic qualities of water. So that would be the taste, smell, appearance, color, and clarity, but does not have the potential to cause a properties that may fall under minor include single detached homes and townhouses. The second is moderate. This has a low probability of becoming a severe hazard. It may extend beyond aesthetic parameters, but has a low probability of becoming a public health risk. Some examples of properties that generally fall under moderate include commercial establishments such as grocery stores, multi-residential units, and dental offices. The third category is severe. This has additives or substances that under any concentration have the potential to become a public health risk. Some examples of properties that generally fall under severe include car washes, automotive repair shops, and chemical manufacturers. How do we protect against cross-connection and backflow events? We use backflow prevention device. This is a device that isolates the drinking water system to prevent backflow. It can be thought of like a one-way street. It allows water to flow in the direction you want, but stops it from flowing backwards. Although there are many different types of backflow prevention devices, the general principles are the same. They use mechanical spring-loaded check valves acting against the surface pressure, and in some cases, pressure-reducing valves to ensure that if a pressure drop occurs across the device, it will instantly close, stopping the flow of water. Once service side pressure increases above private side pressure, the valves open, allowing flow to resume in the correct direction. 3 types of isolation that refer to the location in a facility in which a backflow prevention device is installed. The first is source or fixture isolation. This is installed at a specific cross connection, such as a hose bib, or integrated into the fixture itself, such as a lab faucet vacuum breaker or air gap in a dishwasher. The second, and slightly coarser, is zone or area isolation. This will isolate a backflow event over a large area, such as a large boiler system or a process room. The last type is premise isolation. This is located just after the water meter, prior to any piping junctions entering into the facility. It provides the largest coverage area and is the last line of defense before a backflow event can impact the municipal drinking water system. Many property owners will use multi-barrier approach to protect their water distribution system. First, they could use fixture isolation on something such as cooling tanks to ensure that in the case of a backflow event, water would not be drawn from non-potable water would not be drawn from the cooling tanks into the rest of the facility. Further to that, they could use area or zone isolation to prevent water from being drawn from a certain section of a facility, such as a laboratory or a process room, into the rest of the facility as a whole. This can also help to protect a water supply provided to employees for drinking water purposes or cleaning from being contaminated. Additionally, if you have an area of facility with multiple fixtures requiring isolation, area or zone isolation can limit the number of backflow prevention devices from many to one. And of course, the last is premise isolation, which prevents a backflow event from drawing contaminated water from the facility into the municipal drinking water system. These multi-barriers can contain an event to a smaller section of a facility from a facility's water system, reducing the cost of recovering from a backflow event. The Oxford County Backflow Bylaw is looking to gain feedback on the current draft. This version outlines priority facilities, acceptable devices, inspection and testing procedures. The bylaw was drafted by comparing the requirements of neighboring municipalities as well as those of a similar size and structure with the county. It will allow the backflow prevention program to be expanded to include facilities not covered under the Ontario Building Code nor deemed as high risk. Additionally, it will sanction which properties are required to adhere to the backflow prevention program, the type of backflow prevention devices that are acceptable, the frequency of these devices must be tested and inspected, as well as providing registered qualified persons who can perform the inspections. Additionally, it will require the result of all tests to be delivered to the county within an acceptable time frame. Who will be impacted by implementation of the bylaw? The bylaw will affect businesses and multi-residential units classified as moderate or severe risks, CSA B64 series guideline. Staff will create a list of high-risk focus areas for tiered implementation, which will begin with properties denoted to have high hazard cross connections present, multi-residential properties, and properties with fire protection or auxiliary water supply connections. The backflow prevention program will be funded in a budget-neutral manner using a user pay model. The county will not operate the program as a revenue stream. And this user pay model ensures that the cost for backflow prevention device testing stays with the industries required to install the devices and is not dispersed to the general ratepayer. During implementation, a financial plan will be developed to fund the operational and resource costs of the backflow prevention program through this user pay system, and it can be adjusted as necessary. This removes the cost burden of the backflow prevention program from the residential homeowner who is not posing a hazard to the municipal drinking water system and puts the onus to work together on the municipality and the ICI customers and multi-residential customers that pose a risk to the drinking water system. In Ontario, nearly all of the municipalities with backflow prevention programs charge user fees to the property owner for different elements of the program to recover costs, including but not limited to the following: test tag fees, cross-connection inspection and report submission fees, backflow testing and report submission fees, and backflow prevention device tester registration fees. Enforcement. Fines under the bylaw pursuant to the Provincial Offences Act. Prior to issuing a fine, the county may order the owner to cease the contravening activity, shut off the water to the property, perform the work required to remove the risk, and charge the cost back to the owner. Fines on a first offense are up to $50,000. Each subsequent offense is finable up to $100,000. And additionally, each day any provision of the bylaw is contravened is considered a separate offense, which is finable by up to $10,000 per day, every day in contravention. The typical process for ICI multi-res customers will look like: they need to hire a qualified person registered with the county, complete a cross-connection control survey and cross-connection control inspection, install approved backflow prevention devices where required, test all capable devices annually, and submit backflow prevention program test reports to the county in an acceptable time frame. Next steps for the county: simple timeline. July 2022, Council adopted a resolution approving public consultation for the backflow prevention program. In December 2022, a fact sheet was delivered along with water bills, giving a brief outline of the backflow prevention program. In January 2023, we began PCCs, and we are aiming for June 2023 to deliver a completed and updated backflow prevention program and bylaw to council for adoption, and implementation will begin shortly after that. Thank you for attending. Material has been posted to oxfordcounty.ca/backflow, and that will continue to be updated with additional information as it becomes available. The project team of myself and Don Ford, our manager of water and wastewater services, can be reached for questions or comments at either the phone numbers provided on this slide or the email addresses provided. Additionally to that, questions or comments can be posted at Speak Up Oxford, which is also available through that oxfordcounty.ca/backflow link, as well as scanning the QR code. So I want to thank you for listening to my presentation today, and I hope you have a great day.